Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Football Explanation Podcast. On today's episode, I've managed to track down our good friend Kingsley. I think he's somewhere in the south of France on holidaying. I think you also you're repping Le Bleu today. So okay,
The
I see
real
that, I
one,
see that, I see
the
that.
real World Cup winning team, the real one, the real one.
Well, don't get me started. But again, it's excellent. Excellent to welcome you back to the show. We've missed your keen eye, your keen insights into the game, and everything pertaining Barcelona. So it's always good to have you on the show. And to our listeners, we're going to be talking about Spanish football first of all, because since we've got our friend here, our Spanish correspondent, our Spanish specialist, or
Eu-
Spanish
European correspondents. Spanish is the major.
European correspondent. Yeah, okay, yeah. Thanks for that. Sorry about that. But today we're starting off with Barcelona and with Barcelona, it always comes the financial situation. Barcelona broke or not? It seems the reports are varying on that. Barcelona's transfer business and Charlie's and Kingsley's positions where it feels Barcelona can do business in, and his sensible transfers to those positions. So why don't we kick off that with starting with the one that has just been announced? Barcelona completing the transfer for Joan Garcia from City rivals Espanyol. How do you feel about that deal?
Well, first of all, I need to thank esteemed viewers again for having me on the show. Hopefully, we'll have an interesting and well-packed
By pop
session.
by popular demand, I will add.
But it's always good to be back here. It's good to be back here. So yes, your
Yeah,
question, Frank. I think the Joan Garcia's move from Espanyol to Barcelona, it's something that Spanish football should have an appetite to see a lot more. In the sense
yeah,
that you want to see those movement between, for lack of better word, the lesser teams to the bigger teams, and then hopefully players starts to get exponential values from doing that. Say, for example, the Joan Garcia um, movement from Espanyol to Barcelona. I think the guy was pretty much on a 60K per week kind of deal, and is
yeah. I feel
moving
like
is moving into a
it's
3 million per annum contract. That shows you what that how your football can change within the same city, right? And we've not seen a lot of this kind of movement at pro level. We've seen it at say relatively lower stream level for these footballers, maybe at the point of under seven, under 11, under 12, and
yeah,
they make movement across the city. But Garcia is a true and true Espanol product, but also he's familiar with the city of Barcelona. I think that is a good deal for him as a person, and I think for Barcelona as a football club is an excellent deal. It seemed like an opportunistic one, but if rumors are to be believed, it means that there's a potential here for Barcelona to free up their wages, given the fortune that Mark Andre ter Stegen is associated with his contract. And I think Garcia's ceiling as a goalkeeper is very high. I see him in a couple of years being the Spanish number one if things don't change to different if he continues to meet his potential. And I mean, does the Spanish league had and always have high profile goalkeepers like the Thibaut Courtois, the All Black, and all of that. But he was that breakout goalkeeper for last season, and
yeah,
arguably the best shot stopper in the entire of last season for the Spanish
yeah.
senior tier
Definitely.
football.
Yeah,
So so
and
for
mm,
so for
yeah,
me, it's one of those signings that, especially from a Barcelona point of view, it wasn't a necessity going into the market, right? But it's an opportunity that you shouldn't pass on. Concluding a business of this magnitude for 25 million release clause, which means there's more money to Espanyol, who barely made it out of the relegation zone last season. So there's money that they can spend in other areas of their squad to try and make sure that they will continue to stay in the top division. But more importantly for Barcelona, this is you saving in the future because again, I didn't see a situation where Barcelona would actively renew Ter Stegen's contract beyond what they have right now. And if they run it down, I mean, the next person online was Chesney, with all respect, but again, he's another individual that his um footballing clock is ticking down. So It would
Yeah.
have meant sooner rather than later, Barca would have been in the market for a goalkeeper. At that time, you would end up
Yeah.
spending way more than what it is on the budget. So overall, I consider that as a smart business, but also given Barcelona's financial dilemma, it's something that any Barcelona supporter would know in the last 4 or 5 years. It's been like, different chapters of the same book. Where do you have enough money to make it happen? Don't you have enough money to make it happen? So it in itself that makes 25 million euros in the grand scheme of things a huge amount of money for Barcelona because that is that is an amount that you can no longer use into other part of your transfer business for the season. If you had asked me prior to this whole Garcia operation, I wouldn't have considered the goalkeeping position as one of those that Barca must address in this window. But I'm absolutely happy that they've seen the opportunity and they've been able to make the best out of it. So
Okay.
touching on
And
that financial conversation,
yeah.
probably maybe if you want, we can unpack that as we continue on the show for today. But otherwise, I was going to say that officially, Barca has not returned to the one-to-one rule. And for some of those who do not understand what the one-to-one rule means, it simply means you cannot spend at the same frequency that you've earned. So
Yeah.
currently, right now, they're on the quarter-to-one rule. So it means that um for every
Every
one euro made, you can only spend 25 cents out of it, right? So every $1
okay.
made, you can only spend 25 cents out of it. So, um, but the club is confident, as the leadership is confident. The management have verbally communicated that the goal is to return to one at this transfer market and then hopefully be able to conduct business. But we've heard all of this before, and some of them did not particularly pan out at the rate at
Yeah.
which it was discussed. So in that situation right now, it means that the club is in a very precarious position where you can't just go in and do business as conveniently as a lot of other footballing clubs can do right now.
Yeah.
And that in itself is creating some sensation as to, hey, this 25 euros spent towards this guy could have been something that could have been deferred and happen at a later stage in the transfer window when there's more certainty.
Yeah. Okay. Um, just a bit on because speaking of Joan Garcia is I think I put this deal in the same category where I put the Liam Delap to Chelsea deal, where it's the risk clause is quite reasonable. Is a player that has shown good potential in that, or they show good potential at respectable clubs, Ipswich and Espanyol. They are homegrown players, English and Spanish in each situation, and it's those kind of deals that financially you have to explode, you have to just explode them and see how they pan out. Because again, this guy can come in, he could be done, he could be the next great Barcelona keeper, but also it could not work out. But I think you don't lose much taking this deal. And I think the bigger question is then, do you think do you think he instantly becomes Barcelona's number one and Stegen goes to the bench or he leaves the club, or do you think there's going to be a shared role at the club, or do you think it's going to be Stegen still as number one? Because I think Stegen is Barca's official captain at the club, right?
That's correct, absolutely.
Okay,
Um,
so
uh,
it's not an easy decision financially and for the player for the club. So it's do you think how do you see it playing out?
the funny thing is this, right? Whether or not Barca signed Garcia, I am of the school of thought that Ter Stegen shouldn't be Barcelona number one anymore. And it's very controversial, but I have a firm belief that that would have been the direction for a club that is looking to go forward. And I'll just give you an example. Um, in as much as when you look at the scoreline for Barcelona, especially towards the end of the season, it almost feels like you're watching basketball. It's a 4-3, it's a 5-4, it's a 3-2. It's those kind of crazy numbers. Like it's not even the El Clasico was the final El Clasico of
Yeah,
the season was 4-3.
was
And if
7 goal
you
thriller.
yeah, and if you watch the game in itself over again, you realize that it's not enough to have considered 3 goals. Just a little more
Yeah,
organization. The goals to chances considered ratio is a bit too high for Barcelona. And now we bring in a Ter Stegen. into the picture. Ter Stegen was at his best in the 2015, 2016, 2017 era in the club. Afterwards, I don't think he has been able to replicate that era for a couple of reasons. At some
Okay.
point, it's a bit easier when you watch goalkeepers like again, not an easy picking, but just if you watch goalkeepers like Andre Onana, you watch
Andre Onana.
you watch Andre Onana, you watch Hugo Lloris at the twilight of his Tottenham career. You watch those kind of goalkeepers, and you see that they are very erratic. You see the error prone. You see you visually can identify, hey, this is this. But with Ter Stegen, it's very hard to it's very, very hard to describe it if you don't follow Barcelona religiously.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you don't watch him in and out, and then when you watch the replay of the goals he may have conceded, it's not an out and out blunder,
It's
but
I understand what you
you
mean.
yeah, you feel like, as a world-class goalkeeper, as someone who is vying to be the German number one goalkeeper, you should be saving that. You should be doing a bit better. You should be doing a little more than just raising your hands with your knee not moving, right? And
Mm.
and then you see he gets beaten near post finish. You get like, I don't ever see. I don't remember watching a game where Ter Stegen has saved the penalty.
Yeah, and I think with Test again, it's almost the same issue I had with Kepa a few years ago, where they don't make mistakes. Like you said, they don't make glaring mistakes. But at the same time, they get the goals they get that go past them sometimes. They're always quite questionable. Something you look at like, should he be doing better there? Should he be getting a stronger hand on that shot? Should he be covering his near post? And with Ter Stegen, I think the relationship with Barcelona and the fan base has. I think this is as soured in the last probably the last 3 months. This is probably the worst it's been in a long time. Where on social media there was a trend where a lot of Barca fans were pushing this hashtag in Ter Stegen out, all that side of football. But I think with him, I think he doesn't have the same sharpness he had a few years ago. I don't know if it's age or he just lacks something that makes him an elite goalkeeper. And when you have a guy and again, I think he's also very, how do I say this? I won't say he has high opinions about himself and his or where he stands in at the club and at country level. So he's very, and he tends to vent his opinions quite frequently about should he be the number one at German national team, should he get more opportunities there, should even with Barcelona this whole situation, because he's not stupid. He sees what is happening. He knows their movements, or there's an operation trying to get him out of the club. He's now, I think he's going on the offensive where I don't know if he's leaking information or leaking stories to the press, but even with his social media posts, he's hinting at, I'm here, I'm not leaving, I don't want to leave, I'm Barca's captain, and we'll go from there. And worst case scenario is if he gets, you don't want this to become a messy situation, because that's not good for the club. It's not good for either player, Test again or the incoming goalkeeper. If you can get a smooth transition, that would be perfect. And I expect Hansi Flick, because I think he's one of those coaches that is very clear, very direct. There's no there's no way you get things misunderstood. He doesn't need anything for that. I feel I start off preseason, if not already, there's going to be a conversation with Test again. Okay, I know we've got this guy in. He's going to come in and be your backup and our long-term goalkeeping option. In this moment, you're still the number one, or it's going to be thank you for your service. We no longer require you as the number one goalkeeper at the club, and it's then up to the player to decide if he wants to stay at the club. So again, there's a situation where this guy comes in, he doesn't perform to the desired level, and you have to make that change. That there's also a situation that happens, and it's down to if Tessega wants to stay at the club and fight for the position, or does he just bow out and go somewhere else, find his playing career somewhere else. But I think this is going to be a drawn out process between the club and the player.
Like for me, the happy part is right now things have not gone too ugly for Ter Stegen that he wouldn't be able to to get suitors. I don't think that's the case. Um,
You think so?
I don't think that's the case. I don't think things are that ugly that they're like there won't be people willing to get Ter Stegen in, right? But the problem is the wages.
Do,
The problem is the
do
wages that
you,
he will demand.
okay, do you think a club like, because obviously I'm a Chelsea fan and Chelsea are on the market for a new goalkeeper. I don't think personally I don't want Ter Stegen. I don't think he's going to come in and improve the position we have because he has his own issues. And when you look at a club like you mentioned Andre Onana, do you think he fits at United? Do you think he
You
can
see,
go there? Because again,
you see, that's where it gets
probably,
a bit. That's where it gets a lot interesting because Ter Stegen sees himself as top three goalkeepers in the world, right? He used to be that before, but that's not how I
eh?
perceive things from a realistic point of view. So the problem is, even if United starts to show interest for Ter Stegen is going to go on and be talking about European football,
Champions
Champions
League
League
football. Yeah,
football, and all those kind of
yeah.
things, right? And then he will forget quickly how he he led Barcelona a couple of seasons ago into Europa League, right? How he
Okay.
was, you know, it was part of the he was in goal when Barcelona got one of the highest beating in European football, right? At
Yeah.
8-2. So you look at all those things, and we are at the era right now that goalkeeping presence is way more visible in the eyes of the fans. Like at the time when it was Victor Valdez and co, fans weren't very keen on what your goalkeeper do. Like, but then you look at the games like the game against Inter Milan versus Barcelona, and you see how Sommer decided the fate of that tie in a lot of ways. You look at
Yeah.
Donnarumma's performance against Liverpool. You look
Arsenal.
at so you see goalkeepers having a major say. Like even Thibaut Courtois' contribution to Real Madrid winning the Champions League a few seasons ago. You look at those things, and then Barcelona fans are like, we want a piece of that. We want a goalkeeper that you see a striker running down and you have a chance that okay, he might just do something. We don't have that. So Ter
But
Stegen is not that right now. And that's the reality.
I know. But do you think have Barca ever, like in recent times? Do you think have Barca ever have they had a truly elite goalkeeper? Like I'm talking about Emmanuel Neuer, even Alisson, even Thibaut Courtois, because it was Valdez and Bravo for a while, then Ter Stegen. I don't think.
So
I,
the thing is
I don't think.
what is playing out right now for Ter Stegen was pretty much what played out exactly about 10, 11 years ago when
Yeah,
when he went to the board and he's like, you guys make me number one, I'm off to Man City, right? And then Barcelona had a
yeah,
decision between making him number one or making Bravo number one. By the way, Bravo was exceptional that season as well. And then
yeah.
Enrique made a decision to split them by competition, which wasn't still enough for Ter Stegen until Bravo eventually was asked to leave the club somehow, right? So,
And
and right now, I heard, if rumors are true, that Garcia had pretty much negotiated something similar. If I'm coming into your club, I want to come in with guarantees that I'll be number one. And even though there are no firm confirmation to that, but if it's putting pen to paper, you're leaving a club that you're number one. You're coming to arguably one of the biggest club in football, if not the biggest in Spanish football. You want to come in and get a firm grip on the spotlight. So I would not be surprised that Garcia had insisted on being the number one. And
yeah,
and because Barca are in a position where they would do what is required to get him in, they may have considered to that. So my point is, Ter Stegen is vying for this German number one. He wants to go into the World Cup being the German number one, right? He
yeah.
cannot afford to sit on the bench anywhere this season. He cannot even afford
Well,
shared limits.
he can.
He cannot
Like,
afford shared minutes. Yeah, to be German. See, right now he's German number one on popularity and longevity test. It doesn't mean that he is outrightly the best goalkeeper that Germany can produce right now.
no, but the issue he could possibly face in the next few months leading up to the World Cup is that if there's another German goalkeeper performing at a high level that is considerably better than him. And I don't think in the last, because German football, they've had this problem for a long time where the guy after Manuel Neuer, who's that guy that's going to step up and take that shot from Manuel Neuer. And I remember there was, I think, leading up to the Euros, Manuel Neuer was injured for a long time. He came back briefly towards the end of that season. Then he started as number one for Germany at the last
Mhm.
Euros. And also, I don't think you can rule out. I know he's currently retired from international football, but I won't be surprised if Neuer comes back comes back with the national team. And with testing, because the competition for that spot is guys like Alex Noble, who's also at Dominic out on loan. Well, he can, but in an ideal world, I think obviously we want to be out there playing week in week out, so he's fresh, ready for the World Cup. Well, but I think it's going to be a very interesting situation going forward.
I'll tell you, because of the political dynamics in German football, there is no way. I put it out there. There is no way Germany would go to
Well,
Germany is not gonna go to the
it's
World Cup with a goalkeeper, first of all, that barely played the whole of last season. Okay.
then
And
who takes
then
up?
starts this season and is not playing regularly, right? And in addition to that, it's not as though he's been benched by Spanish outright number one. So there are a lot of things that you need to consider to that. I would put my money on the fact that German national team would dig deep, go to
Okay,
Wolfsburg,
okay.
go to anywhere, Hanover, Werder Bremen. I don't care, but they wouldn't have a goalkeeper that is not playing going to the World Cup.
Okay, okay. Let's That'll be interesting to see. So, moving on, we're gonna just do a bit of role play. So, say you know what the Barcelona squad is right now. You've already done one piece of business. Are there any desired positions you feel Barca are lacking in, or where Barca can improve on, strengthen the squad going into next season? And I'll ask, do you have okay? What the positions do you think Barca can strengthen on going into next season?
Yeah, so considering that the goalkeeping position is sorted out now,
Yeah,
um, I think Barca needs to go into next season looking critically at the left back backup, because this is gonna, if last season was long for Barcelona, this season is even gonna be longer, right? So there'll be
yeah,
lots of games. The pedigree of each game now would be, quadruple whatever it was last season. Barcelona went into last season for most part of it as an underdog, right? This season they'll be going into a lot of competitions as potential
his
favorites.
favorites.
And what happens is that when you get into that category back again in modern day football, your first and second 11, the margin for selection needs to be smaller. Like, this is a situation where you want the coach to really have selection headache, right? Because whoever goes in there sees it as an opportunity for audition to play the next game, right? And there's nothing more than that. There is no, hey, this is an outright starter. Everybody should be vying for that position. So if you ask me, I say the left back position is the one that needs the most improvement. All with all due respect to Gerard Martin, I think towards the end of the season he improved,
You don't
but
think
it's not that guy.
he's not the level? Do you
He's
think
not
so?
that
Do you
guy.
think
No,
it's
it's not that guy, because Barcelona need to return to that club that had Lucas Digny and Jody Alba on the roster at the same time, and then you had an Andrino that was floating and willing to play either left or right back.
yeah, yeah, but I understand that, but the problem or people clubs tend to run into is like you said, where you have the Jordi Alba and the Lucas Digne is that after a couple of years, Digne moves on because he's just not getting enough game time, or he goes to another club. And it's a very because you said, and I feel it's a very difficult thing to do to get when you have a very good player, but he's so good, but you just okay, we need a backup. Okay, we need to go and get a player as a backup. I always feel most times it's always important to the goal should be to not to improve the squad in all across all positions. So when I say improve, I mean not just go out there, go get a player that is not quite he's not better than Balde. Balde still starts. Balde is guaranteed his starting spot. But I think you should go out there, go get a guy that is as good. It's an established player at the club you're getting from. Of course, the finance is
Uh-huh.
always play a big factor in it. And I feel like, and then I think there's a guy you always mention. We'll talk about him soon. I think with Barca, that's the kind of player Barca should be targeting because there are not a lot of good left backs out there these days that cover all bases, that are athletic enough, can cover large spaces, can play well, create, score goals if they have to, and they're at the right club, right financial package, and with the right age profile as well, because there are a lot of there are some that are quite going quite old already. So, but who would be your ideal solution for this position?
My ideal
Or which
solution
trust?
for Barca left back
Yeah,
situation would be
a
Grimaldo.
reason, a
Yeah,
reasonable one. Left
reasonable.
now.
It would be Grimaldo, and I think it's
Yeah,
reasonable for a lot of reasons. Right now, Leverkusen is a shopping cart. Everybody
yeah.
goes there. Alonso's project is a wrap right now, so people are going there and harvesting the crops because
Everybody must go.
I anticipate that Leverkusen is going to start to rebuild next season,
Yeah.
right? So, for that to happen, they need to cash in as much as they can. And it's funny because I'm not seeing a lot of clubs linked to Grimaldo, so that also makes that transfer a bit more straightforward. It's public knowledge Grimaldo has a Barcelona route, a very strong one as well. So it will be another
La, La,
La
La
Masia.
Masia products.
It will
Yeah,
be
okay.
another homecoming. Another interesting option would have been Cucurella, but I know it's going to be hard to do business with
Really?
Chelsea. Yeah, it will be
Yeah.
hard to do
Yeah.
business with Chelsea. Chelsea love him right now. He loves Chelsea. He's having a good time there. Um,
Well, well, you say love, but
mm,
I won't be surprised if Barcelona get involved. That can turn his head. But
yes,
but
yes,
but
yes. But it would demand significantly more complication to make
um,
that transfer happen from Barcelona's
but
point of
what
view.
about because what about this player that is a bit, I think is a lot is a bit older now, but it seems like at like with Bayer Leverkusen where they seems to be selling their prized assets. This club are also selling most of their best players. They have no European football, and that is AC Milan. What about Theo Hernandez for that position?
And
Because I think if you believe, because if you believe recent reports, he was closer. Milan and Atletico Madrid were closer than agreeing a 25 million euros transfer for him.
yeah, and
I think that's
yeah, Theo Hernandez is also a very good option for Barcelona.
fair.
With Theo Hernandez at the moment, right, there are a lot of discussions that needs to happen. His personal wage structure will demand more than Grimaldo right now. Um, he considers himself as a starter in French football, so he's French
Yeah.
national team. So he'll be looking to go in there and be looking for assurances that he's going to be the starter, right? I think beyond Nuno Mendes, especially for the last part of the season that he had, um, it's hard for me to think of a better left back right now than Baldi. Um, uh, and it might be yeah, because if I look at it like it's either gonna get
Yeah,
to
he's
the
up there.
to
He's up. Yeah,
yeah, it's gonna be up there. It's gonna be a situation of variables, or maybe I prefer a little bit
yeah,
more on
yeah.
this, but
He's
it's
in.
not. Yeah, you can literally look at it, and the
He's in
only
there.
guy I can say, it will be a sit down in left back conversation will be Nuno Mendes, and I think he's gonna sit everybody down, including the Alfonso Davids and all of that, based on current form and abilities. So, um, pursuing a transfer for a left back, Barcelona need to know that hey, we want a top quality player, but we want a top quality player that understands that when Balde is fit and available, he might take a nudge depending on the importance of the game,
No,
the
no,
roster and all
but
those things.
no, but what if you but like I said, what if you get a guy that comes in and you just let two of them figure it out? Because again, you say you sign Bade or Hernandez or Grimaldo. I expect if Bade is fit, he starts the season as number one. But he's also shown um he's had a lot of injury concerns in the last few
Hmm.
years.
Hmm.
So that's not guaranteed. So you want a guy that's not because if you have a player is quite injury prone per
Hmm.
se, you want the next guy off the bench to be good enough. You don't want a scrub coming off the bench because
Yeah.
if you want that you must well keep Gerard Martin and just go with it. Save save more money for other positions where you can invest in. Well, I think Barca need to, because if you don't get this right, you end up in a situation where if Barca is not around, you get a guy that's not is not quite good,
If Barca
and you
is,
still have this.
yeah, because the sincere conversation is Bade was on that pitch for the Inter Milan both games. Barca was gonna play the UEFA Champions League final. That that is
Oh yeah,
that is as
possibly, possibly.
crystal clear as me making a case. And I'm not singling out Gerard Martin as the absolute reason why Barca wouldn't be playing the finals, but like having Dumfries do a micon on you 2 games, it's a problem right there, right?
Yeah, yeah, that was disappointing.
So for me, with a player of Grimaldo's quality, I know once Barca taps on that, on that shoulder or knocks on that door, conversations will get heated and things will happen quickly. With Theo Hernandez, um,
Ah,
with Theo Hernandez, if it happens, I'll be delighted because I like all the quality he brings. He's tall, he's aggressive, he's very attack minded. He can do a job defensively. Like
it's,
there's really no
it's
downside to Theo's football beyond his consistency and his overall like
mhm.
composure of the
And
pitch.
I think his overall work rate of the ball, because I think in terms of an attacking force, I think Hernandez is as good as he gets in that position. He scores great in equal measure, so it's a very the worry is just about can he come and can he play at this level at Barcelona? Because it's one thing being at AC Milan, the club that has not had the best of times. So you see a lot of players get away with more at AC Milan, where they keep sacking managers, where you can just not give 100%. Can he go to Barca and give 100, not just even 100%, give 110
Yeah,
across the whole season? That'll be a question for him. But okay, that's the left back position.
that's
So
like,
going
but
for that,
going
what
further,
other
but
position?
I think Barca have already reinforced the midfield without having to spend $1. And let me explain a little bit. Mark Bernal is going to be coming back. Um,
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's going to take him maybe until December to start to return to that level of match sharpness. So that's going to feel like another January signing, very similar to what had happened with Gavi last season, etc. So the midfield is stacked. So I don't think Barca need any improvement there. Another position that it's a nice to have depending on the circumstance of things. For example, if one of the centre backs leave, I think it's valuable to go and reinforce the right back position. But the person that would have been ideal to reinforce the right back position would have been Frimpong, but he's in Liverpool now. That's done
Okay.
deal. That's forgotten issue. So when you look at the right back, um, there aren't even if you say the scarcity of quality left back, I think that statement is amplified when you go right back because
Yeah.
yeah,
B-
yeah,
and I think with not just I think on both sides, but I think in the last 2 years you see a lot of teams that play with the back four. They've gone with more. They played basically with centre backs at right back positions, and it's if I think these days if you have a good right back, they're worth their weight in gold. Because even teams like Man City, we've seen Real Madrid now.
uh-huh.
Real Madrid invest heavily with one of the best Trent Alexander-Arnold. But I think Kunde has been you know what I feel about Kunde. I didn't really quite see him as the guy that could play. I saw him as the centre back playing at right back, but I think particularly last year he's emerged as a real force, as a proper right back, playing like going up and down the pitch, covering defensive positions, going into midfield when he has to, providing the right support for Yamal on that wing. I think Kunde is a very good option. But are you worried about? Don't you think there's this Barcelona kid hanging around the first team. Henry Fort or Victor
Hector Font,
Hector Fort, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Do you think he can provide adequate cover for Kunde going into next season? Or do you
So
think you need to
Hector
get
Fort,
body there?
this is me coming off a little bit of bias, um, because I have to
As
give
always.
credit.
As
No,
always.
I have to give credit to Hansi Flick's body of work, and that's why I'm coming with a bit of bias.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because for some reason, Hansi Flick hasn't shown enough trust in this guy, Hector Font.
Okay.
There were games where
Excellent.
there were games where um Kunde could have easily gotten a rest, and this guy would have gone and done a decent job. Because every time I watch the guy, he passes the eyeball test. And that's the truth. He does everything that Barcelona are accustomed to as a football club for a right back. He goes up and down the pitch, he makes very decent tackles, his delivery of crosses are good, his overall
Yeah.
engagement with the team is good. But again, you still see that this is a raw player, he needs a little bit of refinement, etc. And then you look at Hansi Flick and you're like, why are you not playing this guy when the league is already wrapped up? Right?
Yeah.
But
Do
but
you
then
think
But then
because I'm just
he started to favor Eric Garcia to play as a cover for that position towards the end of the season. And that got
yeah,
me thinking, I think Eric Garcia would be the cover up for Kunde next season at the right back position.
yeah.
Because the games where he had played, it might have not been perfect, but he had done beyond a good job. Put reference to the
Oh,
Inter
I
Milan
agree.
games, the final Clasico of the season. Those are good reference points for Garcia. And that is why I said, depending on the movement, if any of the central backs leave, right? And like I'm talking Christensen, um Christensen, Arroyo, if any of those guys move out of the club, then Eric Garcia will become more of a centre back option, right? But if not, if
Okay.
things were to stay as it is today, I think he'll be beyond that utility player, but he'll be more of the first choice cover up for Kunde, and then Hector Ford can play some other games again. So that is why I'm not putting that as a priority reinforcement position for Barcelona. Otherwise, I think
Okay.
he could have made it on that list. So moving on, the next priority position for me will be the left wing position. And
Yes. So they're attacking positions now.
yes, that's the
So
attacking position.
you think and the priority should be the
It should be the left wing outright. And and
left
and
wing,
and,
left
and,
wing.
not, and nothing against what Rafinha had done this season. I think Rafinha is one of the most improved player in European football last season in terms of numbers, contribution, understanding of the game, applying
Well,
himself.
no. Okay. Well, no. No. Dembele is the most improved player like this
Yeah,
season.
well, put into
Dembele.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I,
Dembele.
I respect your point of view on that, to be honest, because again, I can argue against Dembele, but again, you look at the player who was going from an average of 15 goals per season contribution to 50 plus goals per season contribution. That is day and night, right? And again, this is you not even playing in your preferred position. For some reason, Dembele was still played in his preferred position in PSG.
Well, no. He's
Yeah,
playing
yeah,
as a false start. His preferred
yeah.
position is not a it's not a false
His
nine.
preferred position is anywhere on the wings, and then the coach has decided to say, you know what, not because you're not doing a great job anywhere on the wings, I want you tactically to come a little bit in the middle and operate from there, as opposed to, you know what, if Rafinha is not playing the left wing position for Barcelona, we were toast because Ansu
Okay.
Fati couldn't do that,
Okay.
right? Ferran Torres couldn't
Um.
do that. So now why I'm saying the left wing position for Barca is a must for reinforcement is because it has to come with a certain style of profile. We literally, Barcelona literally need a left winger that can beat their man. That is not Rafinha. We need,
Okay.
we need.
Yeah. A Brazilian that can't dribble. That's
I,
crazy.
I didn't say that, but I'm saying
That's
a left winger that can beat their man on isolation. They can even beat a couple
so.
more. So, so, so we need that left winger. And we also need the left winger that can hold up the weight. So um, on paper, Rafinha occupied the left wing position. But once the whistle goes off and the game is going as expected for Barcelona, you see he's more in the box. He's running into the
Yeah.
box. Half the time, Rafinha wouldn't take three touches before. He's either shooting the ball or he's laying off a pass. He wouldn't take three touches.
Okay.
So
Oh, really?
he was that guy. So we benefited from that.
So
We benefited from that.
you
But but
so you
but
could basically say like So sorry, you could basically say like Rafinha was more or less a poacher playing on the wing last season.
However you want to
I'm
make.
just, I'm just asking. No,
No,
no, because of
there,
what you said
okay,
now, you
okay.
want.
So there are elements of truth to that statement. Yes, he was a poacher
Okay, okay,
playing on the right wing, on the left wing side, of the pitch, right? But also
yeah,
because he could easily anticipate that diagonal spin of the ball from from Yamal,
that's
right? And and
okay.
and and for that to happen, when you get that diagonal spin of the ball off Yamal, we don't want you to go there and start dilly-dallying and waiting for a player to cover up before you shimmer off your shoulder and make a decision. And that worked effectively for Barcelona. But the reason why I'm saying
Yeah.
the left wing position requires a player that can beat their man is because I think starting off next season, a lot of clubs will go and play the low block with Barcelona. Now, there's an
Yeah.
expectation that if you go pound for pound with this club, they're going to rip you apart. They're going to score as many as you can possibly concede, right? So, um, because of that, I expect some of the games going forward to have a little bit of more caginess to it. So you need a player that can attract a couple more to him and then create more space um for their teammates. And that player so far
So,
is not present for
so
the club right now.
who's your sensible suggestion for that position? I think, and I think our listeners can guess the guy you're hinting at right now. So who's that guy for
And
that position?
if I'm being very frank, a lot of people would say Nico Williams. I also fancy Nico Williams coming to Barcelona. But if I'm to be a realist right now and considering the financial situation of things, it might be easier to wrap up the business with Ademola Lookman. But the consequence for that would be it's not going to be a long-term fix, right? It's not going to be a long-term fix.
Lookman is 27.
Yeah, it's not going to be a
Yeah,
long-term fix. It's probably going to be you get 3 seasons out of him and you're happy, right? But what with Nico Williams, there is more to it. There's a commercial to it. There is there's the integration part of it. Like he can come in and hit the ground running. In Spanish, he's played with half of the Barcelona team already. Um, we've seen what that partnership is like with him and Yamal and the
but
Spanish national team. But
yeah,
he needs to, if Barca need to get Nico Williams, they need to get him in as soon as possible. And you know why? He needs
yeah.
specific time with Hansi Flick. I feel like he's a
And it
is a very
needs
rough diamond right now. As much as people are still very drawn to all that glitters, I feel like he needs to have 2 consistent weeks of how to finish, 2 consistent weeks
yeah,
of how to arrive at the box, when to arrive at the box, how to make those
timing of
decisions.
runs,
Yes, timing of runs.
how
How
to
to
how to run in behind others. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
So he needs all of that. But why I favor that transfer more than any other transfer right now is because not only are we getting in Nico Williams that can play on the left wing and do that fantastically, we now have a potential cover for whenever Yamal needs a rest or is injured, right? You can then move him to the other side of things, and or you now have Rafinha play where Yamal would play, right? And the squad doesn't all of a sudden lose the entire creativity.
yeah.
Oh,
That's true. Because just because if you think about it, like attacking positions comprised by Lewandowski, Yamal, Rafinha, Dani Olmo if it's whenever he's
mhm,
fit,
mhm.
and if you had a player like Nico Williams who's dynamic, flashy, quick, he has all the pace to burn. That would be a very attacking, a very exciting attacking front line going to next season. But as like you mentioned, but don't you? I think my only issue with Nico Williams, and especially at the big clubs, the Arsenal, Chelsea, and even possibly Barcelona in the nearest future, is does he score enough does he score enough goals? Does he bring enough goals to the table?
Well,
And like you said, like with Hansi Flick, he can get in there, he can coach all those things. But are you worried about his overall lack of end products? Well, quote unquote end products, particularly last year and particularly last season, because again, he didn't have the. I know for obvious reasons, because he had a very he went to Spain went to the Euro final. He didn't have the normal preseason he's been used to, so I think it took him a while to get going this last year. And he ended up with 5 goals and 5 assists. And I don't think that would cut it at Barcelona in this Barcelona team right now.
No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. If if he goes in and gives those numbers, he would even be. He would be below Daniel Mo. He would be below Fermin Lopez. He would be below
Yeah, exactly,
Ferran
exactly.
Torres. He would be below those players
Even
in production. Even he'll probably be on par with Pablo Torre.
that's yeah,
And
probably even Eric Garcia from
Uh,
centre back as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that would be ridiculously low numbers. And I don't think that Barca will go about that falls if that was the expectation. But again, there is the Ernesto Valverde's factor there. Ernesto Valverde has a way of sucking up life of wingers. He's the guy that favors the traditional 4-4-2, right? And for the wingers to thrive in that situation is just of personal creativity. The system structure and the setup is not for them to naturally flourish in that position.
okay.
So that in itself is eminent, is a testament to what Nico Williams can do, even in a club where it doesn't bring out the particular best of attackers, right? I mean, coached by Ernesto Valverde, because I've witnessed it firsthand when he was in Barcelona, right? So so there is that, and then there's also the part to it where um is I possibly, I possibly cannot imagine. Football is not arithmetic at the end of the day, but right now it's difficult to imagine Nico Williams going to Barcelona and not having a good career there. It's just one of those
Yeah,
transfers
yeah.
that's it's one of those transfers that is meant to happen. Like I was
Yeah.
having a conversation way back when Luis Suarez was linked to Barcelona. I didn't even mind. I didn't even mind if Suarez ate off a whole year. I just
Oh, so
So I just, at that point, I just look at the footballer in himself, and I just look at the void in the Barca attack, and I'm like, there is nobody that is
the
gonna go in there and fill it in. So now, not that I'm a fan of all of his other off the field and on the pitch antics, I don't support those behaviors, those kind of behavior
what
rather, but
we're
his
talking
talent,
we're talking about are we talking about Suarez?
yes, yes. So,
Okay, so,
but Sterling.
he's and just to be clear, this is off the pitch. I'm talking about some of his the particularly the racism.
Well, I'd rather not get into that. That's not what our podcast
Okay,
is
okay,
set up
okay,
to do.
okay.
Uh,
Well,
but those but that's not what we're set up to do here.
the
But
the alleged racism. So
yeah,
okay, yeah.
yeah,
What would I go say?
but you understand where I'm coming from. Like you look at those
I see your point.
transfers
I
and
see your
you're
point. I
like,
see your point.
this is the marriage that is meant to happen. So for Nico, I think it's good for him as a player to go there. You're going on to the next step in your career. But most importantly as well, for Barcelona, you're solving three problems in one. You're solving
Yeah, that's true.
you're solving financial issues because you're not going ridiculously off the bank. If you're getting a Rafael Leao, for
Big,
example, or Luis Diaz,
that
which I believe Nico has better ceiling in comparison to these players mentioned. And then you know that if everything goes as planned, you only have one position in the attack to refresh in the next 3-5 years.
okay. I'm I think I think it's safe to say I'm a huge fan of Nico Williams, I've watched. I've watched more of him with the national team, Spanish national team, especially at the Euros and this year's Nations League semi-final and final. I think he's a very exciting prospect. So, like you mentioned, even the financial package behind it is he has a release clause in his contract, so you don't have to negotiate
Yeah.
outlandish transfer fees with the with his football club.
Uh-huh.
He's young. He has this amazing relationship with Yamal already. And I remember watching two of them. Whenever I watch two of them play, I get the same. They remind me of
Ribery and
Frank Ribery
Robben.
and Ian Robben
Yeah, yeah.
at
I
Bayern
mean,
Munich.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
got
true.
because you got Robben on the left, cutting it with his left foot. That's Yamal now. You got Ribery on the other side, fast, tricky. They can score goals, create goals in equal measure. It's very unique. And I think, like again, even if it was, I think even if it's 50-60, I think this is the deal that Barca should, no, again, not even just Barca. I think the top three Spanish clubs should all be getting involved in this deal. I think obviously it's a bit difficult for Real Madrid because they have
They have
a lot of
Vinny, they
guys in that
have
position.
Mbappe, they have
They have,
Rodrigo that can
they have
cover.
if in fact there's anything that does not need left sided attacker to Real Madrid, well, I think he's just that good, and I expect if he does in fact end up at Barcelona, I think he's gonna get the goals. But even for the national team, he knows how to. But you see the positions he picks up in the box where if he can just get a bit more,
Service.
if he can get a bit more, not even like obviously if you play Barca, you score more goals, team scores more goals by extension, you score more goals. But if I think if he gets a bit more relaxed and if he gets his runs into the right position, the way Rafinha has, it's not like Rafinha has improved his finishing over time. It's just he's gone into more goal scoring position this season and he scored more goals, but in a very, very good and unique system. So we have your dream side, your dream transfer is Nico Williams on the left wing,
Yeah,
Alex Grimaldo as left back. I think the Barca's midfielders, I think Barca have some of the best midfielders around these days.
yeah.
And that, I think that puts you stacked. And Garcia has confirmed. So you're happy with that. So you're happy with that squad the way it is. If all those, but again, I think these deals are they probably there's a good chance that these two deals can happen. Grimaldo and Nico Williams. And if Barca go into next season with that squad, are you happy with that? Do you
Oh,
think that's good enough?
absolutely, absolutely. I'll go with that, and because the reason is this: I don't want Barca breaking the bank this this particular transfer market. Be
So you do you have a bank to break?
oh, well, technically, our credit score just went up. Our credit score just went up
It's not like
from
no.
our credit score just
It's
went
not.
up from
It's not like.
stable to positive.
It's more like robbing. It's more like robbing a bank. It's not. It's more like you're more robbing a bank than breaking it these days with
Yeah,
Barcelona.
absolutely, absolutely. So I don't want Barca pulling a heist. Okay, does that make it better now? Okay,
That's
okay,
fair. Yeah.
perfect. So because the thing is that the the big transfer of Laporta's era, phase two, is gonna happen next summer,
The centre
uh,
forward,
and it will be a center forward, and I think it's also gonna
the
be a
centre back.
campaign statement.
Is, mm. Is there any are there any guys you have your eyes on or any guys you think the club is watching right now? I know they are the obvious ones, but like, is there any guy like you particularly are looking forward or you hope the club is monitoring going into again projecting into 2026,
Yeah, yeah,
2027?
2026,
Yeah.
2027 summer. Um, I 100%. Uh, personally, personally,
Ellen
I
Haaland?
I want no, not Erling Haaland.
Oh,
Personally, I want Julian Alvarez. I feel like I feel like not just the Argentine heritage. I feel like people are even limiting the potential of this footballer by calling him a striker. He's just an outright good footballer. He's an absolute baller. Julian Alvarez would be my dream signing for the summer of 2025, 2026. I will be also very happy to have Alexander Isak, right? So
yeah.
for I believe
Oof.
for a lot of coolers, Alexander Isak replacing a Lewandowski is just gonna be, oh man,
Just
oh
kiss.
man,
Just kiss.
oh man, it's
Yeah,
just gonna
yeah.
be you're just gonna have that Yamal, provided Nico goes through Yamal, Nico, Isak. As a defender of any opponent in the world don't want to face that, right? And and if we don't get that, and maybe we get, for me, Julian Alvarez would be amazing. Just be an absolute steal. And if we were to part ways with any of the defenders in the squad right now, I'm talking about centre backs. Say for example, if Arroyo were to leave, or if Christensen was to leave, and then there was the budget for it, I want us to get Tottenham Van der I keep forgetting how to pronounce his full name.
Van der Ven.
Van der Ven. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like on paper that guy is gonna be another perfect marriage to the Barcelona kind of footballing ecosystem. If Hansi Flick continues to be a Barca coach, that's also gonna be a perfect kind of centre back for him, because when you play the high line, You want speed monsters that can recover.
Yeah, yeah,
Kubasi's
you need that pace.
yeah, Kubasi is deceptively quick, but it's not the fastest.
Yeah, he doesn't get into trouble for lacking pace or lacking enough pace.
Yeah. But Van der Ven is just gonna be that guy that can cover the back every day of the week. I think if you train him properly, he's also shown intelligence worthy of being able to navigate the offside trap. Okay.
Yeah,
And I think that would have just been a perfect 2025 2026 2027 summer, getting an Isaac or, plus Van der Ven, or getting a Julian Alvarez. That would have been that for me. That would be like, and the
yeah,
reason why I'm kind of priming that to happen is because that would be Joan Laporta's pre-campaign, you know, notion. So it's probably saving at that point.
his
At that point,
his
the statement will be
his
clear. Yeah,
campaign manifesto
manifesto. The
for his
message will be clear. We've returned back to 1-to-1.
mm,
We now have good economic standing. We are not shopping around buying everybody. We have a decent core because still a lot of these players are still young. They're still good. Hopefully, none of the existing players have a massive dip in form. Like we're not suddenly having issues with right back or left back. Then it's just filling the center forward and give a good enough competition to the center back. Because obviously, not because Inigo Martinez will become whack of a sudden, but Inigo Martinez is about 33 right now ish. At that
yeah,
time, maybe
you need to
you need fresh, you need
future
fresh
plan.
leg, you need future plans. So that would be it for me. But for
Okay,
this season, I'll be super happy to get Grimaldo and Nico signed for Barcelona,
okay.
and yeah.
So yeah, yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. I think that's a lot of interesting points there. And as ever, you can talk about Barcelona without talking about Real Madrid.
You mean our bride?
And well, again, I'm not getting to that conversation today. I'm not getting to that conversation today. Real Madrid, they have a new coach. They have two new signings, or they've made two new signings so far in the defensive position. The Huijsen from Bournemouth and Trent Alexander-Arnold, or Trent, as he wants to be called in Madrid. How do you see what your ops are doing so far? Are
Yeah.
you worried? Are you relaxed? Are you confident that Barca can still see Real Madrid's challenge, or do you think they could be a force next season?
Um,
So far, what they've done, because I expect them to do more business in
yeah, no.
the next few weeks.
I give it to them. A lot of people say Spanish teams don't know how to take an L, and Real Madrid is validating that statement because right now they want to bounce back, and I think they're bouncing back in the right direction. Although some of these transfers would have happened whether or not they even won the treble this season, for example. Um, sorry, my Liverpool folks, but
And,
Trent would have moved either ways, right? Um, just like the case with Mbappe, it didn't matter whether or not Real Madrid had this fantastic
yeah,
season, Trent would have gone to Liverpool to from Liverpool to Real Madrid. So that is good. But for me, I think the biggest signing for them has been Xabi Alonso as the head coach. I want to see what that philosophy is. I want to see if he's going to be the guy that will get Mbappe to work hard for the team when he's not with the ball. Because Mbappe has shown even in La Liga that he's number one in terms of finding the back of the net. Although I feel like he, I mean, an aging Lewandowski shouldn't have been that guy to give him a run for his money, but still, he has demonstrated that he is that. So I don't think, and then also signing of Hudson,
doing the house yeah.
at the center back position is another master stroke there. It's just very similar to the Jean Garcia purchase for Barcelona. Like it's available
Yeah,
in the
release
market. There's
clause,
a release clause in Spanish.
Spanish. It
Is
solves it solves your is a position Real Madrid in terms of not even just quality, just bodies that can play games because they've been hit very hard in that position.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So those are two
Uh,
smart businesses so far. But I still feel like they need
yeah,
to do a couple more to get to that
yeah,
point where as a Barca fan, I'm like, okay, you know what, now it's gonna be El
Yeah.
Clasico as close to being its peak. You can think about it on the course of La Liga. El Clasico is just 6 points, but I think the season we're about to have, it would be a season of the points you didn't go home with, not the ones that you actively won. So both
Right.
teams would be on the edge. I think Trent is a super smart purchase for Madrid, regardless of whatever the financial package may have been. But I can picture it. I have those picture frames in my mind where Trent would ping that long ball to a running Mbappe, ping that diagonal to a free Vinicius. I see that happening all day long. But if I were Madrid, I would be looking for a left-footed right winger. I would be looking for
And
I'll be looking
and
for a
and
I'll be looking for a world-class midfield controller, right?
yeah,
And then I'll be looking for a left back, what
yeah.
world-class left
I,
back too. So I think they still need to do
yeah,
more business
yeah,
to get to the level of saying they've bounced back, but they're definitely in the right direction. I'll be looking at like
yeah.
for the left back, I wouldn't probably want to break the bank. I'll go for something that is reasonable, but immediately comes in and add
Yeah,
quality.
they've been linked with the Spanish defender from Benfica, Caracas,
Alvarez,
Caracas.
Alvarez.
No, Alvarez, Caracas.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah. I think it's also referred to as Alvarez.
Alvarez. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
Let's go with that. Alvarez. Yeah,
yeah. So
and
So yeah, I
but
think
like
that's a good left back there. That's a good left back there. I don't think right now he walks in and goes into that category of a world beater, right? But I think
he doesn't have to be like because watching Real Madrid's left backs last season was one of the I think just watching Real Madrid try to defend, control games, and build up was one of the worst experiences I had watching football last season. It was not fun. I think watching Mendes consistently struggle with his first touch, consistently struggle to make a progressive pass, or even just physically move or progress the ball up the pitch or progress himself up the pitch
Mhm.
was tough to watch. So I think if you just get any guy that's mobile, good passing, good crossing, a bit of pace that can cover down the flank, I think that's already an advantage. But like, because you mentioned probably a right-sided forward, I think they're okay in that department, or they have enough that they can go into the season with. I think what they probably need, they obviously need a central midfielder. That should be their number one priority. And not just they need a top central midfielder, but I think they also need a striker. I think they need and and I think not just any striker, but I think they need a unique type of striker. They need that. I would say plan B, but they need that second option, and they need that Joselu kind of guy, the guy that is I think is experienced enough, is old enough. He won't mind being on the bench. He won't cause a lot of
Yeah,
issues behind the
they can
scenes.
go for Budimir.
Mm, But yeah, they've been linked with Woodman. But I also think I think a guy that could really service them well is Patrick Schick from and also Old Club by Leverkusen, because he has the guy like he scores a lot of goals with his head. I think he's a good finisher. He also links play well. He makes attacking players around him better, and he won't mind being on the bench every now and then. But I think if they can get that, they'll be different. But I think, because I think a lot of what they can do next season hinges on if they can get that midfield player in, and if Alonso can convince the star players up front to work a bit harder off the ball, even if it's just 10%. And if that team gets the right balance, because we've seen like, well, Barca are not just the best team because they have the most talented attacking players, but they have the balance Barcelona have. Very few teams have that, where you have the right profiles in the right position, guys that can play on the wing, guys that know those roles well. But with Madrid, Madrid, it's been the Vinicius and Mbappe getting each other's way, not crazy for each other. Solo is doing what they can do that leads into an outcome or goal or assist, but not combining well with each other. I think if Alonso can get a structure into that team, the system, and get them to work, not just work hard, but work differently. higher up the pitch, progress the ball better. Trent goes without saying he's going to. I, 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 and I think you're looking forward to the like Clasico with Trent or Madrid. But I think Trent is going to. I think he's going to smash it at Real Madrid. I think people know Trent is good, but I think they'll be really, really, really surprised at how good and how quick he's going to have an impact in that team because I think he's a different kind of player. He's a unicorn in that aspect. He's not just he's not just a right back. He's a creator in chief from that position. He can dictate play from there. He can control the game, find the right passes because he's an excellent player there. I think Hoyson's is a smart buy. Young Spanish, like you said, is going to come in if you can get Rudiger fit for another year. That's a good partnership that can happen there because I don't think Rudiger is the best of passers going forward. He's a good passer of the ball, but I don't think he's like
Mm-hmm.
his next level in terms of his ball playing. Courtois, we expect excellence from him. But but that whole attack, that's what I think that you should like the most because if there's been all the reports about Rodrigo wanting to leave or his desire to play in a different his preferred position on the left, which for me I think is nonsense because he's never played on the left wing for Real Madrid or at club level or at international level. So if Rodrigo does in fact leave, I think you can. Oh, they've also signed or I think they've signed the Argentine wonder kid.
Matanudo.
Um, yeah, that's another name I'll struggle to pronounce. So yeah, they signed that dude. I don't know. Is it coming instantly or is it coming in a year or two?
Yeah, I think he comes instantly. I think he comes
Yeah.
instantly, but I think it's more of like those.
Yeah,
Uh,
seven. Okay, okay. Yes, you're 17. Okay,
yeah,
that's
I think it's one
I
of
don't
those.
I don't expect anything from him this season.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
it's one of
that's
those.
a
Yeah,
more that's
more of like a future,
that can
and I think it's more of a CAM than anything else. Um,
yeah.
so
And also forgot our favorite our guy Bobby Charlton's favorite
yeah,
Hendrick.
so that was why I was looking
Yeah,
at you
Hendrick. I think.
when you mentioned that they need another kind of striker that can. I think that is Hendrick. I think that
And
I think that is what they
well,
have Hendrick to do. Um, even
it could be,
I think that's what they have him
but
to do.
but I think the problem with Hendrick is the fact that he's still. I think he needs to go out on loan. He definitely needs to go out next season on loan, play, start games, build his reps, improve his game. Because I don't see him starting I don't see him starting Real Madrid week in week out. And when you're at that age, because you go from being a wonder kid to a guy who ends up in Brazil quite quickly after
Yeah,
falling at a big club in Spain.
yeah.
Start out Victor Roque. So I think he needs a loan next season.
Yeah.
I don't
Uh, uh,
personally I don't want him to because again this is also like you said like you said, it's a World Cup here for Brazil as well. They have this there's a vacant position for him as the number 9 in Brazil. He can make it as the starting number 9 for that team. They are struggling for attacking, but they're struggling in that department. You can't if it's anything like what he's gone through this season that's just gone by, it's just a waste. You can't keep a guy that is supposedly this good on the bench for another
yeah,
year.
no,
He has to go out on loan.
but the thing is this, right? For I think a lot of people are missing the spotlight with Real Madrid, but I think Real Madrid has somehow built their plan B. I think of all European clubs right now, Real Madrid plan B
Yeah,
is the best, and I'll tell you why.
what's the plan B?
I consider Undergüler as
Rudiger.
no, I consider Undergüler as plan B. I consider yeah, I consider
Yeah, but you see,
Brahim
no,
Diaz as plan B. I consider Hendrick as plan B. I consider Matondo, this new Argentine guy, as plan B. So
um,
I've called four plan Bs for you in a position that they can all
yeah,
occupy.
then okay, yeah, like those are all. unique players you've all called, but also what I mean by plan B is not just a player.
It's a team, it's a
It's a
system,
profile.
it's a profile. I
No,
think I
no,
understand you.
it's not. No, it's not really a system. Is it like it's it's Joselu 2 years ago. He comes off the bench in Champions League semi-final, scores 2 goals that put Real Madrid in the final. That season, I don't know how many. I doubt he had more than 10 starts in the league. But
No, not even up to.
but he comes in that moment he wins it. He wins it for them. And I think the reason why I think Sheikh would be a good fit for them because I think Patrick Sheikh has done exactly he did exactly that last season at Leverkusen in their
Hmm.
historic season where they went
Hmm.
unbeaten in domestic league and in the cup. I think he's a guy that can start off the bench. He can come in whenever you need him to. He has that presence in the box. He can score headed goals. But I think also not even just that, I think even more importantly, he can make the guys around him instantly better. I think he's one of the most underrated, or he has been one of the most underrated strikers around because he's a lot older, which I think is fine because you need that guy that's not just it's not just the experience. It's like the feel. It's like Giroud, for example, where Giroud goes to the World Cup with the national team in 2018. He doesn't score a goal at that tournament with France, but he made that team play better. He made that team play well. He made Mbappe, Griezmann, Pogba all play to their best capacity. And that's the guy I'm looking at. That's the guy that I think they need, not just the guy that you look at him and you judge him on the goals. Of course, the goals will be nice, but a guy that has that unique skill sets and also the right physical profile, the right experience in that are doing exactly that thing. And I think it's like even the guys like Budme, even another guy at Villarreal, Gerard Moreno, those guys that can fit into that role. They've good finishers, good finishers with both feet, good scorers with their head as well. That can go in, just be a squad player for a year or two, and you go forward, or you can plan for the next few years because they need because what for them particularly like the game against Arsenal, the return leg at the Bernabeu, where it got to a point where it looked like Madrid had no idea of how to break down Arsenal. And in that moment, that's when you need a guy like that, like a guy that can just be in the box, where a, a cross, set piece, just you get lucky, something falls down for you, and you just finish it well. I think that's what you should look at. But again, it's like I think I'm really looking forward to seeing Real Madrid in this ongoing Club World Cup. I think I like to see how they react to last season's disappointment because they have been a reaction sacking moving Ancelotti on and bringing in Alonso. I need to see that hunger, that fire on the pitch as well.
Yeah, football is a cruel sport. People almost would talk about Real Madrid's last season as though it was an absolute failure. This is a club that um
It
is not.
was,
Yeah.
it was. Let's
But
let's
no,
not.
no, but hear me out for a second. This is a club that played two finals. Okay, though they didn't win it, they played the cup final. They played the Super Cup final. This is a club that I think they got knocked out in in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, right?
By Arsenal,
By Arsenal, yeah, true. But then
which again, they didn't just get knocked out; they got destroyed by Arsenal. They lost 5-1 on aggregate to Arsenal.
I know.
To this Arsenal team,
No, this is the same
that
Arsenal
in
team that
itself is
finished
embarrassing.
second in the Premier League to Liverpool. No,
No, again, yeah,
no,
that's an
yeah,
important context.
yes.
No, that's
So
true. No,
and this is yeah,
that's
and this is the club that challenged that challenged Barcelona to La Liga, a club
no, man,
that could have easily ended up having a treble. So, but
yeah,
they were there second.
but I think at Madrid they operate in definite. They don't do maybe, they don't do should, could.
And I
So
agree,
that
and I agree. That's what
they
football is
don't look
about.
at
But the context I'm arriving
because
at is the context I'm arriving at is this, right? This is not a depleted squad. This is not a club. This is not a squad that you look at all the players and you're like, you guys were absolutely not hitting the ground. This is the club that for the rebuild is just plunging through a couple of areas and you should be back fine. right? I mean, should is the word because again, you have to go on the pitch and prove it, right? So,
And that's all true. But I think the important thing is at the end of the day, it's not just the fact that Madrid lost the league or lost the league title, lost the champ, didn't win the Champions League, and didn't win the cup. It's the fact that Barcelona won the league and won that cup. And Barcelona played in a free, fluid style last season. Barcelona were fun to watch. Madrid were not. And it's not just also most times with Barca and Real Madrid, it's not just what we've won, it's what we've won over the other guys. And there were four classicals this past season. Madrid lost all four. That alone is for Real Madrid, that is that should shake them to the core of the club. That we can't not just losing the classical, but the manner in which they lost some of those classical games. They lost 4-0 at home to Barcelona. They got beaten 5-2 in the Super Copa in
okay, the
Dubai or
Spanish Super Copa, yeah.
so
Mm-hmm.
that's has has that ever happened has there ever been a year where Madrid or Barca lose four classicals or even three classicals in 1 year?
Yeah, I think this happened, but
I'm not
been a
quite sure.
while. It's happened, it's been a while back. I think in the 80s or 70s.
At least, yeah, yeah, exactly. That's how far it's been. So,
Uh-huh.
like you say, you say it as a Barca fan because I think I don't think you understand how this. Of course, you understand because you're obviously a Barca fan. But I think they've been very calm about it. Most times, there's always been a more chaotic end to the season, a more chaotic dressing room. I think they've done well to keep everything under wraps, keep the emotions under wraps. But at the same time, Madrid cannot perform anywhere near how they performed last season next year. It will be unacceptable. Like because I think even like all the context he brought in, I think a lot of fans understood the context where they know Tony Cruz was missing. Tony Cruz wasn't sufficiently replaced. Injuries at the back, the Vinicius situation, Mbappe and Rodrigo and all that. They all understood those things, and the Ancelotti piece in this whole conversation as well.
Uh-huh.
But I think next season, I don't think they'll be as easily I don't think we'll be as understanding as they were this past season
Yeah,
because
and
Madrid have Mad.
I think speaking as a Barca fan, and I'm glad that I'm doing it on record. I think Madrid will even have a proper bad season next year.
Okay, 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 okay.
If they
Well,
think
okay,
this
and
season,
I,
if
and
they
I
think
think
this season is bad, wait until next season.
okay, and I think yeah, okay. We'll talk more about that when we do
Uh-huh.
our season predictions.
Yep.
But I think on that note, I think we'll call that a day today. It's been nice talking to you. To our listeners, followers, like, subscribe, share, leave your comments, questions, any topics you want us to talk about, and let us know what you feel about this discussion we've had. Do you like Charlie said, or like Kingsley said, do you think Real Madrid will suffer next year, or do you think Barcelona will get Nico Williams over the line, and is it the right fit for them? So let us know in the comments, and we'll get to them as quickly as we can. But again, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining me, and out. Peace out.
All right, thanks everyone. Till next time.
Bye.